Welcome to Half Century Hangout, where different paths lead to the same table. I'm your host, John, joined by my friends and co-hosts, Luke and Chuck. We're three guys who grew up differently but became good friends with a lot to talk about. On this show, we bring our unique perspectives to the table and dive into everything from current events to life's big questions. We might not always see eye to eye, but that's exactly why we're here. To listen, to learn, and change our minds sometimes. So grab a seat and join us for honest conversation, unexpected insights, and a few friendly arguments. This is Half Century Hangout, where different perspectives make for better discussions. Hey, welcome back, Half Century Hangout. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Just want to ask my co-hosts Chuck and Luke, what's new since last time?
Well, guys, we did it. The Buckeyes, the Ohio State Buckeyes, are the national champions. So let's go with that.
I didn't know you were part of the team, but I suppose fans are.
Absolutely, fans are. You have nothing without your fan base, right? You gotta have that fan base.
All I can say is this: you know what I will say? Congratulations to the Buckeyes, but there is an asterisk after that national championship because, as we all know, the Michigan Wolverines defeated them in the regular season. So there is an asterisk after that one, but. Still, congratulations. But, you know, when we won it last year, we were undefeated, so there was no asterisk after ours.
So I'll tell you what I told a buddy of mine, Robert.
Okay.
Robert said the same thing. He's a Michigan fan, wears that
good guy
color all the time. And I said, Robert, that is a family discussion, so butt out.
Well, I feel like we're family, Chuck, so we can have it.
Yeah, I guess we are.
You know, it's all good. It's fine.
Yeah, all right.
You know,
good
hey,
enough.
On a different note, not to shut that down. But, hey, 65 downloads of the podcast last week.
Yeah, I've been watching that. That was amazing.
That is awesome. And where'd they come from?
All over the place, but we had one from Germany.
Germany?
Yep.
Holy cow, I didn't even know that.
I mean, it was crazy, but, I'll give a shout-out to Wyandotte, Michigan.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys. Love you. Hope you tune in for the next one.
You know, we kind of expect some of those ones around like Omaha, Council Bluffs, but, I saw them in San Francisco, Denver, Kansas City. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Down in Florida, they're all over the place.
Yeah, Tampa. I saw one down in Tampa.
Yep.
So nice to have you guys hanging out with us.
Here's the cool thing. If you are listening in some of those cities and maybe we didn't mention, just write us up a review, shoot us like a 5-star, 4-star review, whatever. And we'd love to hear from you. If you put your name down there, we'll be sure to give you a shout out on the podcast.
We're huge on shout-outs.
Yeah.
We
can give shout-outs to anybody.
Yeah.
We're good. You let us know.
Just like the Ohio State Buckeyes, we're nothing without our fan base. This show is nothing without our listeners.
You are right, because if we're just sitting here talking, who's listening?
Exactly.
Oh, you know what? I forgot to say. We are hanging out today in Luke's garage.
And what a fine establishment Luke's garage is.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. It's fun. Like I said in the last episode, we solve a lot of problems here and probably cause a few along the way. Yeah. But we've had a lot of great conversations with different people here among my family and people. And John, where we're sitting here, you can see this is where my kids carve different colleges and different things into the wood at the top of the bar. That's our little bar top. So it's good. Everybody's got their initials in there, and
I'm surprised, Luke, that you've got an N here.
Well, I have some family members that graduated from UNL, so
wow,
we've got it. And you know what? I love them. They're great.
Didn't sand that off.
Didn't sand it off. It's there. It's right in the middle. So
I noticed there's a couple Michigans around it.
There are.
Yeah, guys. So, man, I don't know if you've ever had this type of person around you or not, but I always enjoy being around someone who understands purpose and the importance that it has in our lives. I believe one of the deepest cravings of humanity is that each of us know our purpose. I honestly think that that's something that we all kind of strive for, And I remember one of the things that impressed me about people that I would consider mentors or leaders or people that I would look up to was that they reminded me of that simple reality of what is my purpose, or that I have purpose. They would actually impress that on me. I have purpose. So over the years, I've led teams. As I've led teams, I've always tried to think about it this way, that leadership, which is kind of what we're diving into today, leadership is helping others know that they have a purpose, and leading is helping them fulfill that purpose. So I thought we'd maybe start the podcast off by talking about that.
I think, Chuck, you hit the nail on the head where that purpose is a huge part. And in our line of work, which we've spoken about before, that's one of the things that I think that we really need to work on, is that there's a lot of people that come across our doorstep that don't have a purpose or don't know what theirs is. And it's not that we're giving them one. It's that we're trying to help them realize what theirs is.
Discover.
Just
right?
getting them there.
Yeah.
Getting them to the point where they figure something out. And all of a sudden they have that moment. Whatever that moment might look like. It might be the aha moment. It might be the heavens opened up, whatever it is. And I think that that's a huge piece that we go through. So, going into that leadership piece, I think that's a big thing. And one of the things that I know that we spoke about and we've talked about is that we want to dive into this topic about leadership, but when we brought it up last episode as well, it kind of came into that conversation that we had. But there is a difference between simply being a leader and having the skills of leadership. That's two different things. So, John, if you got any comment about that, I mean, that's somewhere I think we could start it off, is there a difference between being a leader and having leadership? Because I feel it's a couple different things. Like, it could go either way. What do you think, John?
Absolutely. I think that leadership skills are a lot different than being a leader. I think that when you are a leader, you have people that will follow you. And I think those skills come into effect when you lead people. The skills, I think you have to be honest. I think you have to create trust with your people. I think you have to be able to communicate with your people. And that's a lot of different ways. You got to be able to listen to them. You got to be able to.
There's that listen thing again.
Absolutely.
It's going to come back. It's always a big one.
Got to be able to listen.
Right, yeah.
You got to be able to talk to them, and you got to be able to communicate that message of what's our purpose as a group.
Because I think one of the things that I looked at, I know that we see this a lot in our day-to-day work that we share, is that there can be leaders. They don't always have to be positive leaders, right? I mean, we all know that person who just happens to be the head of a group of people that isn't necessarily positive. You know, it doesn't have to always be a positive thing to be a leader, but I think, John, like you said, those leadership skills are what makes the difference, is that you are leading a group of people in a positive direction toward a common goal, whatever that would be. And I think that is a big thing, with showing initiative, inspiring people that are around you. There's so many leaders that we could talk about. And one of the ones that came into my mind as we were talking about it, and I'm sure you guys know the name, but Lee Iacocca is one that comes to my mind. And as you guys heard before, I grew up in Michigan in the Detroit area. So a lot of the things that I talk about have to do with the auto industry. They just do. And Lee Iacocca, who's always kind of given the credit for rebuilding Chrysler Corporation when it went down in the 80s, an often not known fact about Lee Iacocca is that he was also on the original design team for the Ford Mustang.
I was wondering if he was going to bring that up.
One of the best things that ever happened to the auto industry ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it still to this day is like the initial model that sold the most than any other additional model since then.
Totally changed the car world.
It did. And you look at it and you can, John, you started to talk about those things about leadership and the skills that it takes, not just to be a leader, but to really lead people in a common direction for a common goal. I mean, that's where it's at. I mean,
as I hear you guys talking, a couple things stand out to me. I think there are leaders that are like positionally situated, and then there are your practical leaders. So I think it works both ways. Not all people who are in a leadership position are made to lead or even know how to lead or maybe are competent to lead.
Yeah.
But then down on the practical piece, you have people who practically lead just because it's a natural gift.
Yeah.
And they can use that gift either for the good or for the negative, right?
Right.
So, I mean, think of Al Capone. Al Capone was a leader, right? And he used that gift negatively.
Yeah.
But he was a leader, and there are things that
without a doubt. Don't get me started on the mafia. You know, I love that stuff. And you're right though, is that it's one of those things where, you know, one of the leadership ideas that I've always used is you hire your weakness. Because if I know that I have a weakness of leadership, let's say it's communication, I would love to hire somebody on my team that's strong in that.
Oh, sure.
Because, you know, I can still work on that weakness of mine, but I know that it is. And if I hire somebody that's there, that's building a team. That's building leadership. That's building a team that's going to move forward toward a common goal, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I think also what you need to be as a leader is somebody who makes other people better and towards that common goal, and you help to create the people that you need. You hire the people that you need, but you also make those people better.
Yeah.
I mean,
delve into that a little more, John, about
I don't
better.
know. Tom Brady,
better.
where did he go to college?
Michigan. Dang.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
The
the
GOAT.
man actually was not much in college, was he?
He was a backup.
And he came to the NFL and, you know, by circumstance became a starting quarterback. And every time I honestly do not like the New England Patriots, but I like Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And the man just made everybody around him better. And his goal, I think, was to win Super Bowls.
Yeah, yeah.
And he did with two different teams. And it was because every time those receivers turned over or the running back turned over or his team turned over, he was there and he was leading them in a certain way.
Yeah.
And I think that's what leadership is making those people better so you can get to that common goal. And you have to watch out or talk to the people who are the informal leaders, I'll call them, the ones that have those leadership qualities that do lead in your organization, and you have to help them to understand their purpose,
Right.
and the purpose of our organization.
Yeah. And I think you bringing up Tom Brady, there's an important aspect about him. He always competed for the position of quarterback, even when he was head coach of Michigan, Lloyd Carr. I think it was his senior year. Tom Brady had compete for the position of quarterback, and they went back and forth for quite a while. And then he got into the NFL, competed against Drew Bledsoe, you know, with the New England Patriots. But all that competition, it made him competent. And he became the best in his craft because he honed that skill over and over and over and over. And so there's a level of leadership where you have to be competent in order to lead in the area that you're in, your area of expertise. But he couldn't have been a lineman. He couldn't have been a running back.
Yeah, this is true.
You know, he didn't have that skill, so he had to go out and
Right.
make sure he had that skill, right? But the other side, I think, of competence that I always like to talk about is character. You can have all kinds of competence, and Simon Sinek talks about this quite a bit, that you can have all kinds of competence, but competence unhinged kind of just makes somebody a jerk. They make somebody like the star without knowing how to treat others. And so the character piece of it, I think, is an important piece whenever you talk about leadership as well.
Well, and I think what happens when you have the competence without the character, sometimes you lead in such a way that when you leave that organization, the organization falls
Crumbles.
apart. because you are leading in such a way that it helps everybody get there, but you're the glue that holds everything together. What you have to do is help everybody else around you be better.
Yeah.
I think I was looking at an article, my wife actually sent it to me, and it was talking about companies firing Gen Z employees.
Ooh.
Which we could go way down the list on that one, but they were talking about the Gen Z people, and one of the things was when John you hit it on the head there, where you said that one of the things of being a leader is getting people to be better at what they do or how they act or whatever that would happen to be, and getting them better as leaders. These business owners are trying to teach, and it cracks me up, to teach. You'd figure that college students coming out of school now would know this because of the times, but these employers, and even Michigan State University, which I don't talk about Michigan State very often, but they have had to now teach students how to handle a networking conversation.
Oh, wow.
Like they have to go in and they have to teach them how to look for signs that the other party is starting to get bored and that it's time to move on. But these are skills that they're coming out of college and they don't have. So when we talk about, being a leader, like you said, John, you've got to meet those guys wherever they're at, and you've got to somehow fundamentally figure out, where are we and where we want to go and what's that road look like between those two things. And how to get them better. And I think that summed it up great. I mean, John, I think that was right there, is that leader has to look, and they have to be able to see that too. That's a skill as well, just by itself, is to be able to look and see, we know where the end result, like we think we want to be, but to really be able to, again, here's the word, listen, hear people, see where they're at, figure it out. And, sometimes we'd like to make sure we get that all done during a hiring process or something else, but we realize that doesn't always happen.
Doesn't always happen that way.
Sometimes it's a dog and pony show and you fall into it and you got a person who, isn't as close to the goal as you thought they were.
Right.
But our job as leaders, or, to show those leadership skills, is to see where they're at and to try to help them get there, because that's the job. That's what it is.
Yeah. And I think sometimes when I can't remember who it is that gave the example, or you might know, John, because we've talked about it before, but you got to know where the bus is going, and then get the right people, or get the wrong people off the bus, get the right people on the bus, and then get those right people in the right seats on the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
I've been in a bus with the wrong driver a few times.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, you do work with sports, so
yeah, I mean, it happens.
That's the way it goes. Sometimes they don't know where they're going, do they?
I mean, some of those, literally. I think when we talk about those skills, I think the skills range from so many different things, but some of the ones that I really, look at and try, in our intro and in our North Stars, we've talked about this, how this podcast for us, we want to get better at what we do as well. This is where we hit ideas off of each other and learn it. And one of the things that I look at as aspiring to be a great leader and these leadership skills, we brought up honesty, we brought up integrity, basically, but being able to delegate is a gigantic one.
Oh yeah.
Being a leader isn't just about controlling every single little thing that it was.
Sure.
You can't do that. And if you think you can, you're going to fail. You're going to crash and burn. You can't do it.
Or your organization's going to fall apart when you leave.
Well, that too, because how can, it's that North Star that we talked about in the first episode, where I said you really can only work with what you could really have control over. And you have to be able to relinquish some of that control and that delegation to others for some of those things, because as a leader, you're not going to be able to do it all. You're not going to be able to. We might want to, some people think, or they're overachievers or they're going to do this, but basically what I think they would do is burn out in a hurry. And we see that a lot. You see that with coaches, you see that with bosses, you see that with CEOs, you see that with a lot of people.
Right?
Well, principals too.
Yeah.
It happens.
Hey, and you bring up a good point. When we are listening to people, when we are seeing where they are, when we are assessing them and saying, hey, this person could be a leader in my organization, and I'm going to give them a little bit more responsibility to help them get to that purpose that they have and help them understand who they are in our organization and help our organization. Yeah. By the way, it's Jim Collins with Good to Great.
Is he the one who, the bus example?
Yeah. Which is a really good book, Good to Great.
Yeah.
But
I'd like to hear a little bit more about this delegation piece, because for me, I think over the years, that's probably been the hardest thing to do. And as I reflect just on that, the reason I most likely don't delegate, and you guys chime in on this, is that I don't think anybody can do it as good as I can.
You know what? And it's funny, and I knew where you were going. As soon as I saw the look on your face, Chuck, and I could tell. And this is how well we know each other, folks, is this is something that I'm not, proud of it or anything, but as a parent, I did this too many times where I didn't have my kids do something like a chore or whatever it was, because I'm like, I'm going to have to redo it. I'm going to have to do it over.
Yep.
Because they're not going to do it up to my, which at the time seemed like a time-saving kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't. It was more of a pride thing. And it's like, you know what, I could teach them and go step by step with them and tell them what that looks like, what it feels like, all these things. And I passed up on some of those opportunities. And I think that it's real that you say that as a leader, because it's real. And think of it this way. In recent events, for those of you that are sports fans, the Detroit Lions, okay, just had one of their best seasons ever, right? I mean, great season.
Yep.
Head coach, Campbell, he's great.
Yep.
But what did he do? He built a coaching staff of leaders, and his offensive coordinator and his defensive coordinator both got head coaching jobs. Now, that's a feather in your hat.
Yeah.
Now, you hate to lose those people, but that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to build a team where people are going to advance, right? I mean, you're not just helping whatever your group or your job or your corporation or whatever that is. It's not just them. You're helping those people.
Right.
Because like you said, John, some of those people don't necessarily always know that they have leadership qualities. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they think they do when they don't. But they also, the other times, just maybe don't have a high enough self-esteem, or they don't think that they could do something like that. But if we listen hard enough and we look at those little intangibles, whatever that is, and I just think that delegation piece is one of the ways that you kind of strain through and figure out. You give these people a little job here, or a little more responsibility, whatever that is, and you coach them through it, and you try to get them through it, and you're going to be able to tell in a hurry if they can or they can't.
Right.
And I think that besides that part, that delegation piece is gigantic, because everybody on a team or a group has to do their part to reach that common goal.
So does that mean that if you're delegating to somebody that honestly, they may not do it as good as you, you maybe you have 15, 20 more years experience or whatever, maybe you're skilled better, whatever. You're delegating it to somebody who may not be as good as you. Does that mean that you have to be okay with not it being excellent?
No. I think that we've gone through that in education, where it's GRR, right? Gradual release of responsibility. This is something that we do with students, but I think that you do it with a leadership group as well. Is that, and just like I was talking about with being a parent, is that if I'm delegating something to you and I feel in my heart that I'm going to be better at it than you are, that's okay, but I want to teach you how, at least I think as the leader, it should be done. All right? Now, on the flip side of that, you might have some ideas that I didn't know about. So I have to be open at the same time, but that delegation piece, I think, builds trust with the other person, that, hey, he's really looking out for me, or he's got some faith in me, and hopefully that helps them.
Yeah.
But it's hard to let that rein go and to say, hey, but at the same time, maybe the first, however long it is, month or two or whatever it is, it's going to take a lot of follow-up with you with them to help them get to the point where they're at least competent or better. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Which sounds really bad, but I don't know another way to put it.
And delegation means that I am letting that person do what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm doing as a leader, as a builder, is being out in front of those people as a leader. And I'm letting them learn how to be that leader. What I'm trying to do, ultimately, fortunate or unfortunate, I don't know which, but what I'm trying to do is work myself out of a job. I'm trying to help those people be a leader so that when I'm gone, when I'm done, those people can take
Pick
over.
up right where you're left off.
And we see that in, we work in a high school. We said that. We work with kids that are anywhere from 14 to 18, 19 years old, and we're trying to help them find their purpose,
Right.
be leaders. And sometimes that's really hard to let them
Sure.
and watch them to maybe stumble, right? Not fail, but stumble.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to help pick them up and get them on the right track,
Right.
find their purpose, and help them to be that leader that they can be.
Yeah.
I think the other part of it, there's one other small part that I just wanted to say, is that if we're in a position of leadership, whatever that position is, and you are bringing people onto your team, whether that means hiring them or bringing them into your garage or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Whatever that group is, you kind of have to screen them a little bit. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
Like if I know that, Chuck, I'm bringing you onto my team and your strength is communication, but I delegate to you a bunch of stuff about operations, that's not setting you up
For success.
That's either,
right.
you know.
Right.
So again, and I know we've circled back to it 100 times, it seems already, and it's only episode 2, but it's that listening piece. And you've got to listen to people and really delve into what not only you think their strengths are, but what they think they are, you know?
Yeah.
And
So-
that's hard. It's a hard thing. Delegation is not easy. That's why I put it on there, because I think it spurns a lot of great conversation.
It does, and I think part of the process that may help that is, the good book says that there's wisdom in a multitude of counsel, right? So if you're considering an individual, then bring more people around, and we've all made our share of mistakes of bringing people onto a team that maybe we thought was a good fit, but somebody else was like, I don't know about this one, Chuck, or I don't know about this one, John. There's another good quote I heard, and it kind of takes the conversation a little bit of a different direction, but it says, be careful who you let on your ship, because some people might sink the whole ship just because they can't be the captain,
Very true.
Once you have that organization and you are kind of building that organization, I think you got to be careful. You got to vet people maybe a little bit. So
I think I've had those conversations before about, if I have somebody sitting in front of me who at the end of an interview or even in the middle of it, and I think, man, this person is turnkey. They could take my job today. I have to be honest with myself and kind of talk to this person and be like, hey, you know what? You're a little overqualified for this job. Like, you've done this. You might want to look at a little bit bigger of his role, unless they have a specific reason for wanting that role, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I think that we need to be honest with ourselves and be like, there's some people that, like you said, maybe in their interview, you're stealing interviews, stealing ideas from them because they're giving you stuff in an interview like, wow, I never thought of that. That's a great idea.
That's another quality of leadership too, is being honest with people and saying, here's what I see in you, or here's what I don't see in you, and making sure that you're honest.
And I think we can, look at, there's so many things with leadership, and this, this topic is probably going to go over into our next episode. I mean, there's things that are always going to be interlaced with it, but I think that, when we talk about society and people and all the things that we do in our world, but that you guys are going to be letting us know about. This is so important because we see leaders, and I know sometimes, and I'm just going to say it, that I think that we see leaders sometimes that we don't want to admit that they're leaders because we don't like the direction that they go.
Sure.
But you know what? They're still leaders. Okay. Now, what direction they go, that's a whole different discussion. But there's always been leaders in history forever, right?
Yeah.
That people don't always agree with.
Right.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But there are certain qualities that leaders, true leaders and successful leaders have. And these are we've just scratched the surface. I mean, we haven't even gone that deep yet.
We have.
Yeah, so let's maybe can we just go around the table and talk about like who is a leader, whether it's somebody that led us or maybe it's somebody that led, from a distance that we've admired, that we've maybe stolen a few things from.
Boy, that's something to think about.
You still thinking?
I am. So go ahead.
I can tell you right now without even thinking too hard about it. My high school football coach, 100%, best probably man that I've ever met in my life as far as the things that he did in his own life with raising kids in a terrible neighborhood in Detroit, sending them all through a Lutheran high school, teaching in that high school, his wife working in the cafeteria, and just being the best mentor to young men and having that as the basis of his coaching style, whether he was on the field, he was also the wrestling coach, he was also a PE teacher. This is the guy that I had to do square dancing with in PE class. And because
you square danced with him,
I did because
that's awesome.
There was more guys than there were girls, and
absolutely.
I was the tallest one in line, so I had to. And he came up to me and you're leading.
Bow to your partner.
And it was one of those things where he was always just a beacon of light in my life. He was always somebody that you could look up to, somebody that you never had to worry about asking him a question. I mean, obviously, he was a very strong coach. He was a very dedicated coach. He was a great coach. He's in the Michigan High School Football Coaches Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
And he just went over the top with making young men out of young boys, if you want to say.
Yeah, that's good.
And he was so good. He was just, and it was, obviously it was a Lutheran high school, so there was a lot of things about our faith and things that were included in everything that we did. And as I went to college, which was the same college that one of his sons went to, I was worried. It was the first game I was going to start as a freshman. I kind of jumped in there at the end, and I was in the locker room before the game, and he showed up, and I had my head down. I was kind of trying to psych myself out, and I feel this hand on my shoulder, and it was him. He came to see the game because his son was also playing. He was a couple of years older than me, but just that, I was fine. Yeah. All that anxiety, everything that I had was gone because I knew he was there.
Yeah.
Great man. Just a great man.
So let me ask, Luke, how many graduated in your class in high school?
I think it was less than 100. I want to say it was like 85 or 87, something like that.
So I grew up in a small town as well. I can't really put my finger on exactly one person, but my high school teachers were inspirational and leaders to me who, again, helped young people grow into adulthood and get to where they needed to be. Probably one of the reasons I became a teacher was those teachers that I had. And I think that we all can probably look at somebody who made a difference in our lives that might have been either a teacher or maybe a pastor or somebody in our past that exemplified that type of leadership that we want to have or to be.
Yeah. It probably wasn't a fair question because I couldn't think of just one. I break it up into like different genres, right? So when I think of somebody who taught me how to be a good family man, I think of Kent Wingate from Patterson Park Church in Beaver Creek, Ohio. Just an amazing dude, man. Showed me what it looked like to love your wife and love your kids. When I think about a good pastor, I think a guy by the name of Dr. John Marshall from Springfield, Missouri. Just an incredible man, loved Jesus. Just a great man to kind of pattern your life after. And then when I think of just general leadership, guys who know how to replicate leaders themselves because I don't know if it's a system. I'm not sure, but again, it's pastors. You guys know me, but it's the pastors of the City Light family. Guys like Gavin Johnson, Chris Horuska, Doug Stevens, Eric Wiggum. Some of those guys who really invest and replicate other leaders, and as it turns out, they're doing some really good things. So I can't really break it up into one. My football coach was
I could have named a bunch.
I'm sure you could.
We could go on an episode about this. Yeah, for sure.
But well, guys, that was a great discussion.
You want me to do a quote?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Are we ending with a
quote?
Get
your quote there.
I think one of the ones that I looked at, and when I was talking about leadership, and obviously we've hit on this subject. We hit on it a lot in the first episode, really. As I listened to the first episode, we really did. I mean, the leadership piece kind of came out there, which was good because I like the idea that we spring ideas that then go into the next episode because I think it's a natural progression to go. But John F. Kennedy, leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. And I think that the minute that a leader thinks that they know everything, and they're not going to be a leader anymore,
right? Because
they're stagnant. Yeah. They're just going to stay. And we've all seen those people, whether we knew them personally or not. But we've all seen those people, whether it was in history, whether it's something that we've experienced in our lives, in the half century that we've been on the face of this earth.
Right.
I mean, I think that that's a big one, and I think that if we ever stop learning or wanting to learn, even for that matter, then you know what, we've stagnated.
Learning and leading go together. That's great.
Boots up.
Love it.
Awesome. We probably come time to finish up.
Well, wait, we should probably
hang out.
What's coming out, soon here is the Super Bowl. I mean, that's the Chiefs and the Eagles, right?
Yep. Chiefs and the Eagles.
Are you a Chiefs fan?
No, not really.
Good. I know John's not.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Yeah.
That's the way.
And I'm a Bears fan, so I get to wear the paper bag, but it's okay.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
Well,
But
I was rooting for Detroit.
I did laugh because I saw a meme yesterday, I think it was, which was they have those maps that says who's rooting for who across the country. So they had the Kansas City logo right over Kansas City, and they had the Philadelphia logo over Philadelphia, and the rest of the country was gray, and the gray color was hoping for a meteor shower. It was great. I thought it was great because I don't know that, I know Kansas City fans are, and Philly is too. I mean, and I guess for giggles, I'd like to see the Eagles win just because, but I don't really have a horse in the race, so I don't say too much.
I kind of want to see Patrick Mahomes do something nobody else has ever done.
I always root for the AFC, so I'm rooting for Kansas.
It's all right. That's okay.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
All right, guys. Well, hey, just a quick thing. If you like what you heard today, or if you like what you heard in our first episode, be sure to go to our brand new Facebook page, Half Century Hangout. You can find it on Facebook. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, go ahead and send us a message via text. It's on all the different platforms that you're able to listen to. Shoot us an email, like and subscribe, guys. So appreciate you guys being around.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for hanging out.